Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Books and Bytes. Today we're diving deep into 50 Shades Darker, the second book in E.L. James's steamy trilogy.
Picking up right where 50 Shades of Grey left off.
Right where we left off, with Anastasia reeling from that intense but ultimately painful relationship with the enigmatic Christian Grey.
Yeah, trying to navigate a relationship that's been fractured by power dynamics, past trauma, and the constant negotiation of boundaries. 50 Shades Darker really explores the complexities of rekindling a relationship while confronting those really deeply rooted issues.
Yeah, so for our listeners, it's not just about the romance. It's about understanding the man behind the mask.
Yeah.
Christian's past, his desires and his struggles, trying to reconcile the Christian that Anastasia fell for with that darker, more controlling side that he revealed.
Exactly. And throughout the book, she is wrestling with these questions of trust and acceptance and the limits of love. Can she truly love someone who desires control, who has been shaped by a traumatic past? And can Christian, in his quest for dominance, learn to relinquish control and embrace vulnerability for her?
Okay, so the book delves into these themes as Anastasia and Christian attempt to rebuild their connection. We're going to explore how the shadow of Christian's past, particularly his relationship with Mrs. Robinson, hangs over their prison, and how his BDSM desires clash with her need for a more balanced dynamic.
Prepare to be swept away by grand gestures, intense encounters, and emotional turmoil as you journey through the darker shades of Christian's world.
All right, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Starting from the beginning, the book opens with Anastasia trying to move on from Christian. She's starting her new job at Seattle Independent Press, but it's clear that she is still deeply affected by the breakup.
And Christian makes that very clear, too. He is not letting her go easily, bombards her with thoughtful gifts, the glider desk as a reminder of their shared experience at the gliding competition,
Yeah.
the beautiful bouquets of roses, and even a brand new iPad with a personalized playlist.
These gifts are extravagant, romantic even, but they also hint at Christian's controlling tendencies. It's like he's trying to maintain a connection, to keep her in his orbit even when she's trying to establish her independence. What do you think Anastasia thinks about these lavish presents? Do they feel like genuine gestures of affection or subtle attempts to exert his influence?
Well, it's a question that she grapples with throughout the book. On the one hand, she's drawn to Christian's intensity, his undeniable charisma and the way he makes her feel alive. But on the other hand, she's wary of his controlling behavior, his need to dominate every aspect of her life.
So that tension, that push and pull between her desire for him and her need for autonomy, that's what drives the narrative forward.
Exactly. And as the story unfolds, she's constantly negotiating boundaries with Christian, both in the bedroom and outside of it. She's trying to establish a sense of equality in a relationship that's inherently unbalanced by his dominant personality and his BDSM inclinations.
And that negotiation leads to some pretty heated moments. Like the scene where Christian takes her to his playroom for the first time. It's a space that embodies his deepest desires, his need for control, and it's both alluring and terrifying for her.
That scene is a turning point in their relationship, where she's forced to confront the reality of Christian's BDSM lifestyle, to decide whether she can accept it, or whether it's a fundamental incompatibility. And it's also where Christian starts to open up about his past, the trauma that shaped his desires, and the fear of vulnerability that drives his need for control.
Right. And speaking of his past, the specter of Mrs. Robinson. Christian's former dom looms large in 50 Shades Darker. Her presence is a constant reminder of the unhealthy dynamics that shaped Christian's views on relationships and intimacy.
Yeah, and she's confronted with her influence in various ways. Through the lingering traces of her presence in Christian's life, the whispers and rumors about their past relationship, and ultimately through a direct confrontation at Christian's birthday party.
That scene where Mrs. Robinson tries to undermine their relationship and assert her dominance is one of the most intense in the book. It's a battle for Christian's affections. But it's also a battle for Anastasia's own sense of self-worth and agency.
And it's in that moment when she stands up to Mrs. Robinson and refuses to be intimidated that we see a significant shift in her character. She's finding her voice, asserting her boundaries, and refusing to be treated as a pawn in their twisted game.
She's not just the innocent, submissive Anastasia from the first book. She is evolving, becoming more assertive, more willing to challenge Christian and demand respect in the relationship.
And Christian, in turn, is forced to confront his past, the unhealthy patterns that he's been repeating, and the possibility of a different kind of love. one that's based on mutual respect and shared vulnerability.
Right, and that evolution is reflected in the way that they negotiate their physical relationship. Remember the scene where Anastasia draws hard limits on Christian's body with lipstick? Such a powerful symbol of her taking control, setting boundaries and demanding that her needs be met.
Yes, and it's a moment that challenges Christian's assumptions about dominance and submission. He is used to having complete control. But she's showing him that true intimacy requires a balance of power, a willingness to listen and respect each other's limits.
It's a negotiation that continues throughout the book, with both of them pushing and pulling, testing the limits of their desires and their boundaries. And it's through those explorations, those sometimes painful confrontations, that they begin to understand each other on a deeper level.
It's not always easy, of course. There are moments of intense passion, moments of heart-wrenching vulnerability, and moments of frustration and anger. But through it all, there's a sense that they're both committed to making the relationship work, to finding a way to love each other despite their differences and their past traumas.
And one of the most powerful expressions of that commitment comes in the form of Christian's proposal. It's a moment that's both romantic and unexpected, and it symbolizes a willingness to take a leap of faith, to embrace the uncertainties of the future and build a life together.
Yes, and the way he proposes with that flashing yes keychain is so quintessentially Christian, playful, extravagant, and it's a testament to his evolving understanding of her needs and desires. He is learning to express his love in ways that resonate with her, ways that acknowledge her independence and her strength.
And her acceptance of his proposal, despite her lingering doubts and anxieties, is a testament to her own courage and her belief in the power of love to transform.
It's a choice to embrace the complexities of loving Christian Grey, to navigate the shadows of his past and the uncertainties of his desires, and to build a future together that honors both their needs and their dreams.
But even as they celebrate their engagement, there's a sense of foreboding, a feeling that their journey is far from over. The shadow of Christian's past, the lingering presence of Mrs. Robinson, and the emergence of new threats create a sense of unease that pervades the narrative.
And that sense of unease is amplified by the arrival of a troubled ex-submissive, Layla, who becomes fixated on Christian and threatens to disrupt their newfound happiness.
Right? Layla's presence is a stark reminder of the potential dangers of Christian's lifestyle, the complexities of BDSM relationships, and the vulnerability that comes with opening your heart to someone who's been deeply wounded.
Her emotional instability, her desperate attempts to reclaim Christian's attention, creates a sense of suspense that keeps you on the edge of your seat, wondering if their relationship can withstand this external pressure.
Layla's intrusion into their lives forces both Anastasia and Christian to confront their deepest fears and insecurities. Anastasia is forced to question whether Christian can truly move on from his past, whether he can commit to her fully and resist the temptation to revert to old patterns.
And Christian, in turn, is forced to confront the consequences of his actions, the damage that his past relationships have caused, and the possibility of redemption through her love and acceptance.
The tension builds as Layla's behavior becomes more erratic, more desperate, and the threat to their safety becomes increasingly real.
It's a reminder that even in the most idyllic romances, the real world intrudes, and the past has a way of catching up with us, demanding to be acknowledged and reconciled.
And as they navigate these challenges, Anastasia is also dealing with the complexities of her new job at Seattle Independent Press. She's working under Jack Hyde, a charismatic but ultimately predatory boss who sets his sights on her.
Jack's character is a stark contrast to Christian. He represents the kind of toxic masculinity that she needs to learn to recognize and navigate, and Christian's protectiveness, while sometimes overbearing, also highlights the dangers that she faces in a world where men like Jack hold power.
Right, there's that scene where Christian gets jealous of Jack
Yeah.
and warns him to stay away from her. It's intense and possessive. But it also shows how fiercely Christian cares for Anastasia.
It's a reminder of the power dynamics that are constantly at play, both within their relationship and in the broader world. Christian is used to being in control, and he struggles to relinquish that control, even when it comes to her work life.
And we see Anastasia pushing back against that control in various ways. She buys back her car from him, she asserts herself in their negotiations about their relationship, and she even bids on his Aspen vacation at the charity auction, much to his dismay.
These acts of rebellion are so important for her character development. She's finding her voice, establishing her independence, and showing Christian that she's not just going to be a passive participant in their relationship.
Right, but while she is finding her footing professionally, her relationship with Christian takes a dramatic turn when he reveals his darkest secret, his sadistic tendencies. It's a confession that shakes her to her core, forcing her to confront the darkest depths of his desires. and the potential consequences of her involvement with them.
This is where the darker aspect of the title truly comes into play. She is faced with a choice: to accept Christian's darkest self, to love him despite the potential for pain and control, or to walk away and protect herself from the unknown.
And that choice sets the stage for the remaining chapters of 50 Shades Darker, a journey of self-discovery, acceptance, and the ultimate test of love's boundaries. We'll pick up on that journey in the next part of our deep dive. But before we go, let's see if there's anything else we can unpack from these initial chapters.
Well, I think it's worth noting the recurring motif of music in the book. Christian's gift of the personalized playlist is just one example of how music serves as a powerful symbol of their connection. Throughout the story, you'll find that specific songs, from classical pieces to soulful ballads, often accompany key moments, mirroring the emotional undercurrents of their relationship.
Yeah, it's like music becomes a language for them, a way to express the feelings that words sometimes fail to capture.
And those unspoken emotions, those yearnings and anxieties, are what drive the narrative forward, setting the stage for the tumultuous events that unfold in the chapters to come. So we left off with Anastasia grappling with the weight of Christian's confession, trying to reconcile the man she loves with the darkness he harbors within. And this revelation really sets the stage for an even deeper exploration of trust, acceptance, and the limits of love in 50 Shades Darker.
Yeah, Christian's admission of his sadistic tendencies. That's a pivotal moment, isn't it? It challenges Anastasia to confront her own boundaries, to decide whether love can truly conquer such deeply rooted desires.
Yeah, it forces her to confront this really difficult question. Can she accept Christian's darkest self, or does it fundamentally compromise the foundation of their relationship? It's a question with no easy answers, and the book doesn't shy away from exploring the complexities of that dilemma.
Right. And amidst this internal struggle, the external threats to their relationship intensify. Layla, the troubled ex-submissive, she becomes a constant source of anxiety. Her presence, a stark reminder of the potential dangers that lurk in the shadows of Christian's world.
Right. Her erratic behavior, her desperate attempts to reclaim Christian's attention, it creates this palpable sense of danger, forcing Anastasia to confront the possibility of losing him, not just to his past, but to the instability of his present. How does she navigate this fear? How does she balance her need for security with her desire to trust Christian and support him through this difficult time?
It's a delicate balancing act. She's trying to be understanding, to support Christian as he grapples with Layla's intrusion, but she is also terrified of losing him, of being hurt again. And that fear leads to some tense moments, some clashes between her need for reassurance and his need for space. To handle the situation,
The book captures that tension beautifully, showcasing the complexities of a relationship that's constantly being tested by these external forces and internal struggles. And as they navigate those challenges, Anastasia is also confronted with the reality of Christian's wealth and the privilege that surrounds him.
oh yeah, his world of private jets, luxurious apartments, and extravagant parties. It's both alluring and intimidating.
Yeah.
She's trying to find her place in this world, trying to reconcile her own modest background with the opulence that now surrounds her.
That contrast highlights a key theme in the book: the clash between her ordinary world and Christian's extraordinary one. It's a dynamic that creates both excitement and friction, forcing her to adapt and evolve while staying true to her values.
Yeah, we see this play out in various ways, from the way that she handles Christian's lavish gifts to her interactions with his family and friends, and she's trying to navigate the social intricacies of his world while maintaining her own sense of self. It's
Right.
not an easy feat.
No, it's not. And the book doesn't shy away from showing the awkwardness, the moments of self-doubt, and the occasional faux pas that come with stepping into a world so different from her own. But through it all, she maintains a sense of humor, a grounded perspective that helps her stay afloat amidst the whirlwind of Christian's world.
And that groundedness is what makes Anastasia such a compelling character.
Mm-hmm.
She's not swept away by Christian's wealth or his dominant personality. She challenges him, she questions him, and she refuses to be defined solely by her relationship with him.
I think that's why so many readers connect with her. She represents a kind of strength and resilience that's both relatable and inspiring. She's navigating a world that's often intimidating, but she's doing it on her own terms, staying true to her values and refusing to compromise her integrity.
And that strength is evident in the way she handles her professional life as well. She's thriving at Seattle Independent Publishing, but she's also facing challenges, particularly from her predatory boss, Jack Hyde.
Yeah, Jack's character serves as a foil to Christian in many ways. He represents the dangers of toxic masculinity, the kind of man who uses his position of power to exploit and manipulate women. And his pursuit of Anastasia creates a sense of danger and suspense. highlighting the vulnerability she faces in a world where men like him hold sway.
And it is interesting to see how Christian reacts to Jack's advances. You know his protectiveness, while sometimes bordering on possessiveness, also reveals his deep feelings for her and his desire to keep her safe from harm.
Yes, and those protective instincts, while understandable given his past experiences and his love for her, also raise questions about control and boundaries. How much is too much? And where do you draw the line between safeguarding someone and restricting their freedom?
It's a complex issue that the book explores in nuanced ways. And as Anastasia navigates these challenges, she's constantly negotiating the balance of power in her relationship with Christian. She's pushing back against his attempts to control every aspect of her life, asserting her independence while acknowledging her desire for his love and protection.
And that negotiation, that push and pull between surrender and autonomy, is what makes their relationship so dynamic and compelling. It's not a simple fairy tale romance. It's a complex and often messy exploration of love, power, and the boundaries of human desire.
Right, and that exploration takes a dramatic turn when Jack Hyde's true intentions are revealed. His attempt to blackmail her, to use her position at SIP to his advantage, creates a sense of danger and urgency that forces her and Christian to confront the darker side of his world.
This is where the thriller aspect of the book really kicks in. She's suddenly thrust into this world of corporate espionage, hidden agendas, and the realization that the stakes are higher than she ever imagined.
And Christian, in response to this threat, unleashes his full arsenal of wealth and influence to protect her. His actions, while sometimes extreme, are driven by his fierce love for her and his determination to keep her safe from harm.
But those actions also raise questions about his methods, his willingness to bend the rules, and the ethical implications of his power. Does love justify such actions? And what are the potential consequences of operating outside the bounds of legality?
It's a moral dilemma that the book doesn't shy away from. And as Anastasia witnesses Christian's ruthless side, she is forced to reconcile her love for him with the darkness that he's capable of.
And that internal conflict, that struggle to understand and accept the complexities of the man she loves, is what makes her journey so compelling. It's a journey of self-discovery, of confronting her own values and beliefs, and of ultimately deciding what kind of love she's willing to embrace.
And amidst all this drama and intrigue, she's still grappling with the emotional fallout of Christian's confession, the realization that his desires run deeper than she ever imagined. She's trying to understand his need for control, to reconcile it with her own desire for a more balanced dynamic, and to decide whether love can truly bridge the gap between their different worlds.
That's the heart of the book, isn't it? It's not just about the BDSM or the wealth or the external threats. It's about these two people who are deeply flawed, who are carrying the weight of their past traumas, and who are trying to find a way to love each other despite those challenges.
And as she delves deeper into Christian's world, she's also uncovering more about his past, the events that shaped him into the man he is today. She's learning about his difficult childhood, his abandonment by his birth mother, and the formative relationship he had with Mrs. Robinson.
That's right. The book really delves into the psychological underpinnings of Christian's behavior, showing how his early experiences of neglect and abuse led to his need for control, his fear of intimacy, and his attraction to BDSM.
And Anastasia, she pieces together the fragments of his past, begins to understand the man behind the mask, the wounded boy who's hiding beneath the confident and controlling exterior. It's a process of empathy, of recognizing that even the most seemingly powerful individuals are vulnerable, capable of deep pain and longing.
And that understanding, that compassion for his struggles, it deepens their connection, fostering a bond that goes beyond physical attraction or shared interests. It's a connection that's forged in the crucible of shared experiences, of facing adversity together and emerging stronger on the other side.
But as she grows closer to Christian, she's also becoming more aware of the complexities of his world, that intricate web of relationships and power dynamics that surround him. She's meeting his family, his friends, his business associates, and she's starting to understand the pressure he's under, the expectations that he carries, and the constant scrutiny that comes with his wealth and his reputation.
And those external pressures, coupled with his internal struggles, create a volatile mix that threatens to destabilize their relationship. She is constantly walking on eggshells, trying to anticipate his moods, to avoid triggering his insecurities, and to maintain a sense of equilibrium in a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable.
It's an emotionally exhausting journey, She's constantly giving, constantly trying to understand, constantly trying to bridge the gap between their different worlds. And it takes a toll on her both physically and emotionally.
Yes, and the book doesn't shy away from showing the toll that this relationship takes on her. She's experiencing anxiety, she is having nightmares, she's questioning her own sanity at times, but she's also discovering a strength within herself that she never knew existed.
Right. That strength is evident in the way she stands up to Christian, the way she challenges his assumptions, the way she refuses to be defined by his desires. She's fighting for her own identity, for her right to be seen and heard, and for a relationship that honors both her needs and his.
And that fight, that willingness to challenge the status quo and demand respect, is what makes her character so compelling. She is not a passive recipient of Christian's love or his dominance. She's an active participant in their relationship, shaping its dynamics and pushing both of them to grow and evolve.
And as the story progresses, she is forced to confront those dynamics head on. When a series of events threaten to tear their world apart, there's the escalating tension with Jack Hyde, who becomes more vindictive, more determined to harm her and Christian. There's the ongoing threat from Layla, whose emotional instability poses a constant danger. And there's the lingering presence of Mrs. Robinson, whose influence over Christian continues to cast a shadow over their relationship.
Right, these external threats create a sense of urgency, a feeling that the stakes are higher than ever before. And as they navigate these challenges, they're forced to rely on each other to draw strength from their connection and to confront the possibility of losing everything they've fought for.
The book ratchets up the tension chapter by chapter. As the threats escalate and the danger becomes more palpable, we are caught in a whirlwind of suspense, wondering if their love can withstand the forces that are trying to tear them apart. And that's where we'll leave you for now, hanging on the precipice of a climax that will test the very foundations of their relationship.
Join us in the final part of our deep dive as we explore the resolution of these conflicts and the ultimate lessons that 50 Shades Darker has to offer about love, forgiveness, and the complexities of the human heart.
Welcome back to Books and Bytes. We're continuing our deep dive into 50 Shades Darker. We left off with Anastasia, facing a whirlwind of challenges, a vengeful ex-boss, a troubled ex-submissive, and the lingering shadow of Mrs. Robinson, all threatening the fragile equilibrium of her relationship with Christian.
And as these threats converge, the story really hurtles towards a climax. That tests the very foundations of her love for Christian and forces them both to confront the consequences of their choices. The darker aspects of Christian's world, which we've glimpsed throughout the book, now take center stage, demanding her attention and challenging her resolve.
The tension ratchets up with the kidnapping of Mia, Christian's sister. It's a terrifying moment, a stark reminder of the vulnerability of those we love, and the lengths that Christian will go to protect his family. How does Anastasia react to this crisis? How does it affect her perception of Christian and his world?
It's a turning point for her. She sees his ruthlessness firsthand, his willingness to use any means necessary to rescue Mia. She witnesses his cold fury, his calculated manipulations, and the chilling efficiency with which he dismantles his enemies. It's a side of him that she has glimpsed before, but never in such stark relief.
It forces her to confront a difficult truth. The man she loves is capable of darkness, of violence, and of crossing moral boundaries in the pursuit of justice. It challenges her perception of him, forcing her to reconcile her love for his tenderness with the realization of his capacity for brutality.
Yeah, it's a complex emotional journey for her. She's torn between her fear of Christian's darker side and her admiration for his fierce loyalty and protectiveness. She's grappling with the realization that love doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's entwined with the complexities of a person's past, their choices, and the darkness that they may harbor.
And as the dust settles from that kidnapping ordeal, Anastasia and Christian are left to pick up the pieces, to rebuild their trust, and to renegotiate the terms of their relationship. She has seen him at his most vulnerable, but also at his most ruthless. And that knowledge irrevocably changes the dynamics of their connection.
And it's in the aftermath of this crisis that we see Christian really confronting his past. He seeks therapy, he opens up about his childhood trauma, and he actively tries to break free from those patterns of control and dominance that have defined his relationships. He's making a conscious effort to evolve to become a better man for her. And that transformation is both heartwarming and inspiring.
And it's in those moments of vulnerability, those glimpses of his raw emotions and his genuine desire to change, that her love for him deepens, solidifies. She sees past the mask, past the wealth and the control, and she recognizes the wounded boy, the man who's desperately trying to heal. And to love her in a way that honors her needs and respects her boundaries
And that mutual recognition, that understanding of each other's complexities and vulnerabilities, that's what ultimately strengthens their bond. They've weathered a storm together, faced down demons both internal and external, and emerged from the crucible with a deeper, more resilient love.
And that resilience is tested yet again when Jack Hyde resurfaces, more determined than ever to exact his revenge on them. His actions escalate from harassment to outright violence, creating a sense of danger that permeates their everyday life.
Right. It's a reminder that the past has a way of haunting us, that even when we try to move on, the consequences of our choices can linger, threatening to disrupt our present and cast a shadow over our future.
And it's in this moment of heightened vulnerability that Christian's protective instincts kick into overdrive. He surrounds her with security, he monitors her every move, and he goes to extraordinary lengths to ensure her safety.
But his actions, while well-intentioned, also trigger her anxieties, reminding her of his controlling tendencies and the power imbalance that exists between them. She is grateful for his protection, but she is also yearning for freedom, for the space to breathe and to make her own choices.
It's a delicate balancing act. She needs his protection, but she doesn't want to be stifled by it. She loves his strength, but she is wary of his dominance. She's constantly navigating these complexities, trying to find a middle ground that honors both her needs and his own.
And it's through this ongoing negotiation, this dance between surrender and autonomy, that their relationship evolves. They're both learning, growing, and challenging each other to become better versions of themselves.
And that evolution culminates in a dramatic showdown with Jack Hyde, a confrontation that forces Anastasia to face her fears and to fight for her own survival. It's a moment of empowerment, a testament to her resilience and her refusal to be a victim.
It's a scene that resonates with readers because it showcases the strength that lies within her. She is not a damsel in distress waiting to be rescued. She is a woman who's capable of defending herself, of facing her demons, and of emerging from the darkness stronger than ever before.
It's a powerful message about the resilience of the human spirit, the ability to overcome adversity, and to reclaim our power, even in the face of fear and trauma.
And it's a reminder that love doesn't erase our past or shield us from the darkness of the world, but it can give us the strength to face those challenges, to overcome them, and to emerge from the crucible transformed.
And that transformation is evident in the closing chapters of 50 Shades Darker. The threats have been neutralized, the wounds are beginning to heal, and they're finally able to focus on building a future together.
It's a future that is still uncertain, of course. They're both carrying the weight of their past, and the complexities of their relationship will undoubtedly continue to challenge them. But there is a sense of hope, a feeling that they've weathered the storm and emerged from the darkness, stronger, more connected, and more committed to each other than ever before.
And that commitment is beautifully symbolized in the final scene of the book, where Anastasia and Christian are in the shower, washing away the remnants of the past and embracing the promise of a new beginning. It's a scene that's both sensual and symbolic, a reminder that love can be a source of healing, of renewal, and of the enduring hope that even in the darkest of times, we can find light and joy in the arms of another.
And that's the ultimate message of 50 Shades Darker, isn't it? It's a story that acknowledges the darkness that exists within us all, the complexities of human desire, and the challenges of navigating relationships that defy conventional norms.
But it's also a story about the transformative power of love, the ability to heal old wounds, to confront our demons, and to find redemption in the embrace of another. It's a story that challenges us to look beyond the surface, to understand the motivations behind our desires, and to recognize the beauty that can exist even in the darkest of places.
And it's a story that leaves us with lingering questions, prompting us to reflect on our own relationships, our own boundaries, and the choices we make in the pursuit of love and happiness.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into 50 Shades Darker, I want to leave you with this thought. What does this story teach us about the nature of love? Is it about finding someone who completes us? Or is it about embracing the complexities of another human being, with all their flaws and their darkness?
It's a question worth pondering as we navigate the intricate and often challenging landscapes of our own hearts. And I think 50 Shades Darker, despite its flaws and controversies, offers a glimpse into that messy, passionate, and ultimately transformative journey of love's enduring power.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the depths of 50 Shades Darker, and that the insights we've shared will spark further reflections and conversations.
Until next time, keep reading, keep questioning, and keep exploring the complexities of the human experience.